Hi all, in this video we're going to see about the glomerular capillary membrane, or otherwise called the filtration barrier, that is present in the nephron. So this question has been asked as a diagram question as well as a answer briefly question. So we'll see more about what this glomerular capillary membrane is. So we know that this is the renal corpuscle which contains the Bowman's capsule as well as the glomerulus. So the glomerulus basically consists of the afferent arteriole and the efferent arteriole, which forms an entangled mass here. You can see that these arterioles are covered by the capillaries are covered by the podocytes. So if I'm going to take a section here, it would appear something like this. So this is the capillary, okay, and this is the podocyte, that means these cells here, right? And in between we've got the mesangial cells. So basically, what do you mean by glomerular filtrate? The blood contained within this glomerular capillary gets filtered through this membrane into the Bowman's capsule, the lumen of the Bowman's capsule. That is the glomerular filtrate. Okay, so basically the fluid or the blood has to pass through this sieve-like membrane, or this acts like a sieve, and the fluid goes into the Bowman's capsule. So this membrane here which is surrounding this capillary is very important. So that is why this is usually asked in the exams, and this membrane here is called the glomerular capillary membrane or the filtration barrier. So we'll see more about this glomerular capillary membrane. So basically it's a specialized filtration barrier, and it is composed of three layers. It's got a fenestrated capillary endothelium, a basement membrane, as well as podocyte with food processes. So this diagram is very important. So we'll explain the concept with the help of the diagram. So suppose this is the part or a section of the glomerular capillary. So this is the capillary lumen, and this is the endothelium covering it. So what is this gray colored coating here that I've shown? That is the glycocalyx. Now this, all these components have got importance, and that is why I've drawn it in the diagram. And in the endothelium we've got pores. Now it is through these pores that the substances are going to be filtered. So we've got pores in the endothelium. So now immediately after this we've got the basement membrane. So this is the glomerular basement membrane, and after that we have the food processes of the podocyte. So this is the food process of the podocyte, and in between we've got the filtration slits. So this is the food process and this is the filtration slit. And finally, this, after this layer we have the lumen of the Bowman's capsule. So these are the structures. So the layers of the glomerular capillary membrane are this endothelium here, the basement membrane, and this layer formed by the podocytes, food process of the podocytes. So now we'll see each one by one. First, about this fenestrated capillary endothelium, which is this. So you can see that there are huge pores in that. It's around 10 to 100 nanometer, and it allows the passage of water and small solute. So see, remember, the blood cells will usually not be able to pass through this, but water and small solutes can pass through. Now, as I said, it also has the filtration barrier is not only size specific, it is also charge specific. So this has a negative charge and thereby repels the plasma proteins, and this negative charge is usually because of the glycocalyx here. So plasma proteins also usually will not be filtered because the negative charge will repel plasma proteins from this filtration barrier. The second one is the basement membrane. The basement membrane is basically a meshwork of collagen and the proteoglycan fibrils. So it has got large aqueous spaces which allow free passage of water and small solute. This also has got a strong negative charge from the proteoglycans, which forms a barrier against plasma proteins. And finally, the last layer, that is a podocyte with food processes, they also have this filtration slits. So these slits are around 20 nanometers present between the food processes, and the slits are bridged by a protein called nephrin. Okay, so this is basically a zipper-like structure which with around 40 to 140 angstrom pores. So basically this filtration slits are made of nephrin, which is a very important protein, and this is also negatively charged, which restricts the protein passage. So from all the three, we can understand that this filtration barrier is very selective, and thus the filtrate that is formed after the filtration is very specific. So what is the selectivity of filtration? The barrier is not only size selective but also charge selective. So small solutes like sodium, glucose, aniline all are freely filtered, whereas larger molecules like myoglobin, albumin all are restricted. Usually, if the substance has got a negative charge, it has got an additional hindrance. So this is the selectivity of filtration. Now, why are we learning so much about this filtration barrier? Because a proper filtration barrier is required for proper formation of urine. So one or two important clinical aspects related to the filtration barrier are: first one, what do you think is wrong with this baby? This baby has got congenital nephrotic syndrome, and this is basically because of the mutation of that protein nephrin. Remember, I said the filtration slits are formed of the protein nephrin. So if that protein is mutated, it can lead to proteinuria, which in turn can cause the congenital nephrotic syndrome. So see, if nephrin is not there, what happens? This proteins, that is albumin and all, can be wasted through the urine, which in turn will cause edema and further protein loss for the baby. Okay. Another important clinical aspect is minimal change nephropathy. Again, this is a condition in which the filtration slit is affected, or the filtration barrier is affected. So in this case, what happens is the podocytes, they become detached from the basement membrane, so that the permeability to the proteins, especially albumin, increases. So this also leads to proteinuria and albuminuria, and it is also mainly seen in children, even though it can occur in adults also. So this condition, it is not congenital. This occurs usually due to an immune disorder, most likely due to a T cell cytokine injury to the podocytes. So there are some antibodies against these podocytes that cause the podocytes to retract from the basement membrane. So again, the filtration barrier will fail, which will cause this minimal change nephropathy. So that is why we are learning about this filtration barrier. So in case you get a question like glomerular capillary membrane or filtration barrier of nephron, you can first of all start with the definition, telling that it's a specialized filtration barrier present in the nephron. Then explain its layers, the three different layers, and its importance along with the help of this diagram. Mention about the selectivity as well as the clinical aspects. So I hope this was useful for you. Thank you.